Sofendayu is a true account of missionary work reaching pockets of people who have never once heard the gospel of Jesus Christ. It was filmed in the exotic mountains of northern Ethiopia in Africa. Hidden beyond civilization, little Haywan plays beneath a waterfall, unaware of the busy capital city, Addis Ababa, 200 miles south of her tribe. The Galas are a fearless tribe of people and make up the largest tribe in Ethiopia. Haywan's home is in a Gala village of grass huts, concealed in the upper reaches of the mountains. Her hut is made of grass, twigs, branches, bark, mud, and manure. Haywan's mother grinds corn while her little brother plays outside. Ethiopian food is very highly seasoned with red pepper. After the peppers have been dried in the hot sun, they are placed in a large wooden container and ground to powder. When we came to live among the Gala tribe, we left the main highway of Ethiopia and used a washed-out creek bed as our 5-mile-long driveway. We would drive our Land Rover astraddle the washouts until they were about 4 feet deep. Then we would abandon the creek bed to push our way through tall grass. Walking in the tall grass, my wife Helen was stung by poison caterpillars. Our small but sturdy Land Rover was used to haul building materials and supplies with which we would build our mission station. As the driveway gets higher in the mountains, it gets drier but smoother. The village of Gerry was a pocket of people hidden from the gospel from its beginning. Here, the first 3 months, Helen and I lived in a small tent. Our Gala friends had not seen people with white skin before, so we were a real curiosity to them. From the first light of day to the dim twilight, the Galas came to sit on the grass right in front of our tent, watching every move we made. We felt like monkeys in a cage. It was a strange experience indeed. What a thrill it was to preach the gospel to those who have never heard on the very first Sunday morning in Gerry. Staking out and building a 2-room tin house was one of my first jobs. This would provide better living and working conditions than the tent. The Galas had not been introduced to hammers, nails, and saws, but they learned well and soon were a real help to us. We were so thankful when 3 other missionaries made their way up to help us. Reverends Don Sidebottom, Lonnie Brooks, and Glenn Kane could only work for 3 days, however, but when they left, the structure was half finished, so Helen and I were left to finish the job ourselves. Until we moved among the Galas, I had never done any building in my entire life. I ordered some textbooks on carpentry from a school in America. I would study these books in the night, and the next morning we would build as much as I had been able to learn the night before. Many times missionaries are faced with challenges they never dreamed they could ever do. Building was one of these challenges that happened to us. After some success in building the 2-room house, we had enough courage to erect a 2-room schoolhouse. This was located near the large trees which grew around the spring over our water supply. The Galas called the spring the Minch. The area we leased for 30 years was about 3.5 acres of land. Neighboring villages of Galas were nearby, and Helen grew our own vegetables in her garden. Gerry and Penny, our children, were with us for their summer vacation, helping to build the permanent home for missionaries living on the station. This is a 3-bedroom house. Our workers carried heavy eucalyptus logs 3 miles down the mountain trails, cut them to the proper length with an Ethiopian axe, and then leaned them against the end of the house. This was the way we used to slide the heavy A-frames of the roof into place. I stood amazed when these heavy A-frames were finally in place, because their weight was causing the house to lean at a 15-degree angle. My books on carpentry said nothing about a leaning house. Well, we fastened a cable to the house, and with the Land Rover pulled it up straight, braced it, and it stood solid as a rock. So, that's the way you build a house, my friend. Summer is ending, and Gerry and Penny must return to school. The driveway will be deep mud. It was rainy season, so we tie their belongings on the donkeys and walk the 5 miles to the road where we parked the Land Rover. After just 1 day of rain, the mud is pretty thick. But after 3 months of rain, it is not possible to get a vehicle in or out. The main highway is nothing but a gravel road with many washouts and many chuck holes. It is very, very dusty when it is dry. Our trip to Addis Ababa is 200 miles down this road. Along the road are many, many villages. In the village of Kamisi, 5 miles from our home, the people throng the streets as more than 10,000 people come to the open market. We must be very alert to drive through this village, as the people will dart right in front of you, hoping you will run over the evil spirit that is following them. At the Good Shepherd School in Addis Ababa, we kissed Gerry and Penny goodbye, and with a Land Rover full of new supplies, we returned to our galas at Gerry. It will be 3 months now before we visit our children again. The beast of burden in Ethiopia is the donkey. But the women also labor under very heavy loads. Heavy trucks whip up a lot of thick dust on the road, making it dangerous to drive. Huge rocks are found lying in the road at times, and driving into this thick dust could spell disaster if one of those rocks were there. It would knock you down the mountainside. Let's go on and pass this fellow.